Alrighty. So, hi everybody. So I'm actually on screen this time because I dug out my webcam and people can see my facial expressions whenever I do these development blogs. I wanted to do something a little different for this development blog. And I'm getting a lot of questions around Mario Adventure 3, and I wanted to, and myself, and just development stuff, and I just wanted to do a little Ask Me Anything. And then if we have time, I am going to go back and look at some old screenshots to talk about some things that uh, didn't make it into the game or maybe made it very early into the game. So to do this, I don't want you guys just to listen to me talk. So I'm going to be playing this game as I go through the level or these questions. So yes, you can see me play my game while I answer questions. So I gotta turn that down a little bit on my own. Okay, cool. So first question is, what advice would you give someone who wants to get into Mario ROM hacking? Let me turn this up a little bit. Okay, what advice would I give someone who wants to get into Mario ROM hacking? Oh, geez, Mario ROM hacking. That I would say, first of all, start basic. Like, learn how to make really good level designs. There's tons of editors that are out there. There's, Mario 3 Discombobulator, um, Joe Schmo. I think I might be saying his name wrong. He's developing a really good editor called Foundry. Um, and of course, there's also, there's the editor for Mario Adventure 3 will be released open source. So, if you want to do some Mario ROM hacking and you want a lot of features, you could always use my game as a base. So there's always that. But I think Paramount, it's definitely getting used to good level design, because that is something that's actually really, really hard to get right. I mean, I released the demo out, and I'm seeing that, there there are assumptions that you have to make when designing a game, and sometimes those assumptions are wrong, and it kind of hurts to see that you're getting your target audience wrong, and sometimes you get it right. So yeah, I would say start with level design. If you want to get further in that, learn some basic programming. Don't let 6502 Assembly be your first experience in programming, because you're going to have a very, very painful time. When it comes to programming, there's a lot of tools out there, a lot of books, a lot of resources. I mean, web development is really big right now. But I would definitely learn how to program outside of a ROM hacking environment. All right. So our next question is, are you looking for any streamers to playtest or show off the game? Yes, actually. If you're a streamer and you want to stream the game, let me know. I will make callouts to you. I will plug your channel. I love seeing people play my game. It's a little painful sometimes because, like I said, game design is hard. Level designs are hard. And I put a little work into this, and to see people play it and not really get the design and stuff like that is a little hard to swallow. But at the same time, it's good stuff to see, and I like to see people's facial expressions and their just what people have to say as they're seeing the game for the first time. The biggest thing I love is whenever someone comes into a puzzle or a game mechanic and they don't quite get it, but then after trying a few things, they suddenly they get it and they get a big smile on their face. I love seeing that. I eat that kind of stuff up. So yeah, if you want to stream it, let me know, and I want to see it. So next question. I imagine Super Mario Bros. 3 must be a favorite game of yours. What are other games that you enjoy? Oh, okay. So if we're talking retro, I grew up with the NES, so, Mario 3, Kirby's Adventure, Castlevania, Mega Man 3. I'm sorry, y'all, Mega Man 3 is always better in my heart than Mega Man 2. I mean, you get the slide dash. I mean, how cool is that? And in Mega Man 3, you get to refight the Mega Man 2 bosses. Like, that was freaking amazing. Um, So, other than NES, I also had a Sega Genesis. So, I loved the Sonic series, especially Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Um, let's see. Gosh. Now, when it comes to modern games, I love Soulsborne games. I love Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Sekiro, Elden Ring. I have Demon's Souls in my the remake of Demon's Souls in my backlog. Haven't quite gotten to that yet, but it's definitely in my backlog, and I'm looking forward to playing that. You know, playing the OG. I'm currently playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm loving that because I love Dungeons and Dragons or just tabletop RPGs in general. Of course, you know, tons of Switch games. I logged away over 300 hours into Tears of the Kingdom this past year. Cult of the Lamb. So yeah, I do a lot of gaming on the PlayStation and stuff like that. And I do some Steam games every once in a while. I played Resident Evil 2 Remake on Steam. I also played Doom Eternal. So yeah, I do a lot of gaming on the side. So what else? Okay, so I get this question. Oh, next question, sorry, is what inspired you to customize video games? So what inspired that was the desire to make my own Mario game. So one of the things I used to do was I would buy graph paper, and me and some friends in elementary school would do these really complicated mazes. And I mean, honestly, they were just regular mazes, but we would design them and hand them off to each other, and then whenever we go through the mazes, there would be spots in the maze where we would stop and make each other solve puzzles or do things like roll a die to see if you do damage, kind of a thing. I had never played a tabletop RPG, so I didn't really realize that what I was doing was essentially a tabletop dungeon crawling RPG thing. So, did I miss? Oh, I did miss the other star. So with those mazes, what was born from that was whenever I played Mario 3 a lot, I mean, I played Mario 3 a lot. I noticed that the levels were always on a grid, like a 16 by 16 pixel grid. And so I got some graph paper one time, and I decided that I would go through and, shoot, I don't have enough coins. And I started just drawing out level ideas. And I would just do that for hours and hours and hours on end. And from that born my desire to actually learn how to do game design, and from that I learned how to program. And then once I got my first PC, I already knew like some basic web development. I knew JavaScript and HTML, but when I got a PC, yes, I learned how to do web design before I ever owned a PC. I discovered emulation, and I discovered Super Mario Bros. 3 Challenge, and I was like, what is this? I can play Mario 3 all over again with like brand new levels. And so, you know, I learned about Mario 3 Improvement, and I started making my own levels. And of course, I was like, all right, I want to be ambitious. I want to make my own Mario game, but doing it from scratch seems like a tall order. So this is a great way to redo Mario 3, and you know. And, yeah, that's how I started Mario Adventure. It was just a long time desire to become a video game developer. And that's why I got into programming, and I'm a programmer today. I'm a software engineer. So, yeah, that's how that happened. What happened to Mario Adventure 2? Oh boy. Alright, so some people know the story, some people don't know the story. So, Mario Adventure 2, aka Luigi vs. Mario. So Luigi vs. Mario came from a desire of wanting to overcome the limitations of Mario Adventure, right? And, you know, I was using SMB3 discombobulator, and I didn't want... I wanted to be free of the shackles of... free of the shackles of the limitations that the editor had. So I started working on Luigi versus Mario, and it started out as just like a Luigi game, because there was Luigi's Coin Quest, right? There was that. That was the first thing. And I did that, and then I realized that project was too ambitious. So I figured, you know what? I want to do a Mario 3 hack where the levels are actually playable. And so I started one that was based on Luigi. And then after like 5 worlds, I kind of realized, oh, I can expand the ROM, and then I can like manage the pointer tables in a big spreadsheet and essentially do my own like double-sided game essentially. So what I did was I expanded the ROM and I started working on Mario type levels, and so I got like 3 worlds of Mario side done, and then it became, you know, Luigi versus Mario, and I was like, all right, cool. I have, you know, separate power-ups that are unique from both, completely separate worlds, all that jazz. And then I was keeping backups on a regular basis. Like, I was saving the file, and I was still working out of the ROM, by the way, in a hex editor. But yeah, so there was one day, you know, I had put a lot of work in where I started implementing a green coin system where every level had a green coin, and those coins were used to make progress further in a level. And that was a ton of work to get that done. And I hadn't made it back up in 2 weeks, and my brother at the time broke into my room, and he wanted to access the internet, and my PC was password protected, and the only way he could access it was to essentially reset the PC. And so I did some hard drive recovery software. I ran it, and the backup I had was 2 weeks old at best. So I essentially lost 2 weeks worth of work, and I was like so devastated that I decided I didn't want to do this anymore. And at the time I was getting to a new relationship, and I was like, nope, this whole thing is behind me. I'm moving on to other things. School was getting heavy too, so I scrapped it. And surprisingly, people find the prototypes out there and they play through it. I mean, between the Mario side and Luigi side, there's essentially a whole game there. But you know, that was my spiritual successor to Mario Adventure 2. And the idea of it is like, I wanted Mario Adventure 2 to be different in design than Mario Adventure 1, because I always liked how in the NES days a lot of times you would have a game and its sequel would take a different direction. Like Castlevania 2 was quite a bit different from Castlevania 1. Mario Brothers 2 from the USA was different from Mario Brothers 1. But then the third version would always go back to the roots and improve on that. Castlevania 3 is more like Castlevania 1. Mario Brothers 3 is more like Super Mario Brothers 1. So I kind of wanted to do the same thing. So that's why Mario Adventure 3 is like such a high step above, but it's more like Mario Adventure 1 than it is Luigi's versus Mario. But there's still aspects from both that come into it, but I'm kind of going off the tangent, So anyways, next question. What have been some of your inspirations for your game design? Okay, so a big one would be Kirby's Adventure, or just Kirby games in general. I love that with Kirby games, you have so many power-ups that you could get, and the levels are kind of designed around having those power-ups and using those power-ups to access certain areas. So you may have blocks that can only be removed with fire. You may have some part of the level that has to be raced with the wheel. You may have something that needs to be cleared out with electricity. Things like that. Those elemental types I love, and so that kind of inspired my level design. So right here, great example. There's these stone blocks, right, that the hammers can clear. Every single power-up in the game has an ability that allows it to do something or access an area that the others cannot. So like the Fire Dash. The Raccoon suit can kind of reach this area if you're really finicky with it, but it's really intended for the Fire Dash and Fire Mario. And, you know, the stones are meant to be cleared out with Hammer Mario. So every single level has things like that where one power-up is used to, or you have to use one power-up to access parts of a level or to find stars or whatever. So there's that. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, or just Sonic 3 in general. So I absolutely love the fact that Act 1 always led into Act 2. And I always love the fact that the end of a zone always had a cutscene that transitioned into the next zone. and that made all of Angel Island feel extremely cohesive, like you're part of a giant world and you're actually like traversing this island. So in Mario Adventure 3, I do that. So at the end of World 1, well, actually at the end of all of the worlds, you come across a pipe and you go down that pipe and you play a mini level. And that mini level has aspects of the world that you're leaving and the world that you're going to. So that way it feels like you're part of the one giant cohesive land, that it's all interconnected. Which is why you can backtrack from different worlds to, you know, prior worlds. So it just shows that, you know, that you're in an actual place. You're not just moving forward. What other things? And of course there's Mario games in general, you know. The idea of introducing a gimmick and then introducing a remix version of the gimmick and just like mixing it several different ways, you know, it's classic Mario design. And I picked up on that after playing a million Mario games. So I was like, okay, so, but outside of Mario games, definitely Sonic 3, Knuckles, Kirby's Adventure, kind of like Dark Souls, actually. I love Soulsborne games because, like, a lot of the bosses are essentially puzzles. Yeah, they require quick reactions, but you have to learn how to read their cues. So, one of the things that you'll notice is, like, with a lot of enemies, there are cues that you can read that will let you know when they're about to attack or what they're about to do. Not always, but I try to make some way of knowing, like, it's either on a set timer, or there's an animation, or something that lets you know that something is about to happen. And I get that idea from the Soulsborne games. Okay, next question is, what kinds of games do you like to play besides Mario games? I think I already answered that, but, you know, Baldur's Gate, Soulsborne games, etc., etc. Okay. Next question is, this probably isn't what this is for, but I noticed that for the demo, you've released patches for several different versions of Mario 3, PRG 0, 2, 1, and PC 10. Do you recommend using a particular one? Was one tested more than the others? Are there any notable differences if you use one versus the other? So the different patches are for the different versions of the ROMs, and no. Like, once you patch the ROM, they all end up being the exact same ROM at the end. I actually run a program to verify that byte for byte they are identical. So use whatever version you have, whichever easiest to find. I'd imagine all of them are easy to find. I just didn't want to restrict people to, you know, a particular version. I mean, honestly, I could create a patch for every version of Mario 3, Japanese or whatever. It's all going to end up being the same version of Mario Adventure 3 regardless. So yeah, not a whole lot of questions, but that's that. So I'm going to switch gears real quick. And I found a whole bunch of screenshots that I kind of wanted to, you know, to go through and talk about real quick, just to see some of the things that are different from, it kind of shows how the game has evolved over time. So this screenshot, oh lord, I have no idea how far back this is, but there's a lot of things that are different in this. This was the fortress level, originally the fortress level of World 1. And there was going to be an outside portion and an inside portion. Kind of like Mario Adventure had your airship portion, and then you had the inner fortress version. And this was the outside portion of the fortress. As you can see, the rain particles have started. They're green for some reason, but this isn't the final version of the rain particles. As you can see, the status bar is very different. I'm not even sure. But for one, there's a timer down there. I have no clue what the H stands for, what that counter was. The day meter is down at the bottom. I don't remember what the LV indicator was for. I think that might have been a glitch. And of course, I have a space for a badge and an item, which these are just allocated, but they weren't actually used for anything. And the air meter is there. So these ground tiles aren't used anymore in the game. Those have been switched out for different ground tiles. And as you can see, Ice Mario was like one of the first power-ups I actually created, where he freezes the surface of the water and uses it to kick a shell into a block. So yeah, a lot is different in this one. Okay, I think this is. Oh, this is an even earlier build because there are no item blocks stuff. Oh, and there's still a timer in this. Wow, this is very different. The main thing here is this fortress had a gimmick where color switches would flip colored tiles. So the blue stitch would turn on the blue tiles. Where here, it looks like it's a little different where the blue tiles are activated, but the blue switch has been hit. So I'm not quite sure where the logic with that was. But it was basically a color-based puzzle fortress. The color-based concept still exists, but it's not a fortress level anymore. It's another level in another world. And then we have a really weird-looking dry piranha plant. It was supposed to be a fireproof piranha plant. That is not in the game anymore. That's long gone. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is also a very, very early one as well. This one is because this ground tile isn't used anymore. These clouds aren't used. This is the Firefox leaf, but it doesn't have the little foxy coloring to it at all. This is a very different leaf. This is like a very early prototype where I was just kind of playing with the status bar and I was playing with the disassembly for the first time. Getting the graphics in here. I think this is like one of the first levels I created using Ruben back when it was still Ruben. So yeah, a very, very early build of this game. Another early build. Okay, so we have cherries now, but notice that the cherry isn't in the right spot. Because this is supposed to be day-night meter, but really bad sun graphic. That's not very good. They've swapped places, obviously. And then we have the item block and the block. So the status bar is closer to the thing, but this is an early version of the item shop. So you can see the icons of these items are very, very different. We have our health item, which at the time it wasn't programmed in whatever it was here. It was just an indicator. Stopwatch, which has made it to the final game. A watch that slows down time. I don't think that is actually in the game. I think I left that out. But yeah, this is a very, very different style of graphics. This is more like Luigi versus Mario style graphics. Oh wow, this is like from way back. So originally this was going to end with the Bowser fight of Mario Adventure 1. I don't know if that'll still be the case because Bowser is going to have to be rewritten from the ground up. And after the Bowser fight, you would have to escape Bowser's castle, and Toad would help you by giving you a walkthrough of all of the power-ups. So, and he would follow you at the bottom of the screen. Someone may still have the demo for that, actually. It was actually really neat. A lot of people like it, so I may have to reintroduce something like this back in the beginning of the game. Okay, so, oh, wow. So this is very different. This is when Koopa Kids were still in here. Oh, okay. LV levels. So before the training levels where you would complete a training level and gain a new ability, there were levels that you would automatically get by getting enough experience points. And this was like automatic. Now the experience points just open up training levels for you to earn your abilities that way. So it's not like an automatic RPG system. It's more like Toad. It's like, all right, you've proven yourself. Play this level. You'll get a 1-up mushroom that levels you up and gives you a new ability. Simple as that. So that's what LV stood for. But this is back whenever Koopa Kids were still part of the game, and you can see he's not shooting wand blast, he's shooting ice. This is probably within the first year still, I don't remember. I know this was a fortress level. Wow. Way back. And also the lava graphics are quite a bit different. So this was, I don't remember what the idea, like this was just a black and white level that I wanted to do because I like the aesthetic, but there was nothing special about it. It's just a plain black and white level. But I was obsessed with it for a long time, which is the black and white aesthetic. All right, so again in this build, so the world maps in the beginning were I played around with the idea of making them completely open. So you know, in Mario Adventure, you could play any of the worlds in any order. I wanted to make any of the levels in any of the worlds completely playable. But that got really, really hard, difficult to manage in terms of level progression as far as difficulty goes. Um, it's hard to make all the levels around the same difficulty at the same time. So I ended up making it what it is today, where there is a linear path that you can follow with some splits. Okay, so this one is another. Okay, the prior one was a version of the bad shop. This is a no, it's still the item shop. This is another version of the item shop. With a glitched out status bar. But the thing I wanted to show here is like there's a pumpkin plant, or not pumpkin plant, a pumpkin power up. The pumpkin power up was going to turn Mario into Boo Mario, which will allow him to phase through walls. No joke. I never got it working in a satisfactory way, and I was too worried that it was going to break the game, so I abandoned the idea completely. Um, Hence why it's 1,400 coins for that item. Um, I had the graphic created, the sprites created, and everything. It was Mario that looked like a Boo with a red outline and stuff. So, yeah, unused content if you didn't know that. Once again, this is the fortress level from before. These are just the thwomps that are on here. So one thing that people may not have noticed that with the thwomps in my game, that they actually have their eyes closed, and then when you get close to them, their eyes open, and whenever they fall, they grit their teeth. They don't have the same expression every single time whenever they're falling or raising. I'm not sure if people actually notice that. And when the red thwomps, they look up when they're moving up, and they look down when they're looking down. So, or whenever they're falling down. So this one. So this is, as you can see, I have the key coin indicator up here. So that was already programmed in. So what you see here at the bottom, this was a second status bar. I played around with the idea of a second status bar for a long time that would basically display things like the total normal coins you got in the game, your total game counter, an odometer, and the level name. The reason I had two status bars is because I wanted the level name to be a part of the status bar, but there wasn't enough room on the status bar to put it, not and make it look good. And my way around it was I raised the status bar up 8 pixels. So I don't know if you've noticed or not, but if you scroll, if you go to the very bottom of a level, there are 8 pixels of the level that you can't see because that goes to the status bar now. So there's room to display the status bar's level name. But before I did that, you would hit select the toggle in between status bar A and status bar B. And I just took status bar B out completely and just put everything that you need to know on the regular status bar. Also, you see these little fairy like enemies. These were called fire and ice pixies, and they would have an ice ball and a fireball that would swirl around them in circles. And the thing was is that the fire pixie's fireball would actually melt frozen coins, and the ice pixie's ice ball would freeze water and freeze coins. That became a pain in the butt level to deal with, so I just took those pixies out. So another unused enemy that people won't get to play. This is the what I talked about before with the tile switches. Like you hit the red one, the red blocks turn solid. Not a whole lot to see there. Woo! So here is a really old world map. So this was back whenever I was going to make Mario Adventure 3 into more of a Metroidvania style game. There's a lot of pipes, and you would basically traverse the entire world by going into a pipe, exit a pipe somewhere else, go into a pipe, exit a pipe somewhere else. and it was just going to be one big map. The worlds themselves would be the Metroidvania style level, and you would have to do things in one level to get things in another level, or you would have to gain the power up that you can use in another level. And turning a Mario game into a Metroidvania, way overcomplicated. It might work for a single level, but an entire game, I abandoned that because the levels became way too complicated to design very well because they have to be traversable in both directions, which really limits your uh, design choices. And then this is World 2. Same idea. All the pipes are just like that. You go down one pipe, exit another pipe. So this one, there were going to be challenge levels. Mario 3 Mix has something like this where you just play a level and you just have these challenges. I decided to go against that just because the levels that I could create would be so much better if they weren't just like, horde battles, spawn battles, or whatever. So I abandoned this idea pretty early. So this is oddly enough, this screenshot of this level, like this level is basically the same. There was some minor alterations, but you can see the status bar is different. I have the cherries finally here. I have the moon icon. Yeah, not a whole lot on this one. Again, another version of World 1. Once again, very complicated. There was this luck block, so you're going to have to, like, the fortresses are still in here. You can remove the blocks, go down the pipe, and once again, it got really, really crazy. Um, these Hammer Brothers were going to rotate in palette color so that they were like rainbow colored. And I ended up just like abandoning this idea because once again, Metrovania in a Mario game, way overcomplicated for an entire game. So this one you can see have the first badge. I think this was a badge. Basically, this is like none of the question blocks have mushrooms. They have their fully powered up ability or powered up power up. But as you can see here, there is a bully. So yeah, a bully were going to be regular enemies in the game, but I ended up taking those out because they were really, really janky. I will say this is before, like the bully was like the very first fully customized enemy that I created, but this is also before I understood a lot about the object engine and before I just completely rewrote the engine. If I were to wanted to put a bully in the game now, I could do it, and it would be so much better. But I have used so much space on the enemies that I have now that I don't have the room to put a bully as a regular boss. Yes. Notice I said a bully as a regular boss. If you've been following along, you already know what that means. Once again, this is World 2. This is more of the open world design. I will point out, so the first couple tiles is always the sky, and I always wanted like this semi-isometric view instead of a top-down view. That's why some of the maps look as flat as they do. Well, the first map looks flat because it's supposed to be like a flooded area. The other maps are definitely more actually have like levels of elevation, and they don't look near as flat. But yeah, I definitely wanted this. At this time, though, the sky did not turn black at night and put stars in the sky. So this is very, very early build. And yeah, that is it. That is all the screenshots. Woo! Talk about throwbacks. A lot has changed over the 12 years of working on this. And hopefully you guys learned something and are enjoying these development blogs. I hope everyone is having a good time off if you have time off. If you don't, I am going to avoid going out to any businesses or stores to respect people who have to work. Don't want to make their lives harder. I worked in fast food for 10 years. Working this time of year really sucks. So, but those who have to, thank you so much for what you do. Anyways, I hope everyone has a great end of the year and a great start to the year, and I'm looking forward to keep doing these, and I hope people are enjoying the demo.